Evolution. Evolution. What evolution is the slow conquest of dimensions. Music has always been the way in. House music. House music. Seizing the reality studio. Evolution. The house band of the apocalypse. Evolution. Direct addressing of the organism. House music. The cyber psychedelic revolution. The brain is an oscillator. The music is the counterpoint in the unconscious. House music. I do think it creates release of alkaloids. See, the most powerful psychedelics occur naturally in the human brain.
Brothers and sisters, we are going traveling.
What the psychedelics do is they open a direct connection into the Gaian mind. When you psychedelicize yourself, you can suddenly feel the flow.
Welcome to Psychedelic Sundays with me, your host, SatoriD. Now I got my boy Terence Mckenna in the house.
To the locus, the Gaian mind.
So Terence, tell me a little bit about psychedelic mushrooms.
Mushrooms are my thing. I mean, they enlightened me, they straightened me out, they loved me. They enlightened me, they straightened me out, they loved me. But the way to do mushrooms is the very first move, if you're interested in mushrooms, is, for God's sake, buy a scale. Buy a scale. I mean, you wouldn't think that this would be considered such an exotic suggestion to people who are going to put their bodies and minds on the line, because people don't take enough. People do not take enough mushrooms. They take pissant amounts and then they claim that they're initiates. You must take a measured 5 dried grams on an empty stomach. Measured. And when you see what that is, you'll realize that, you weren't even camped in the atrium, you were camped in the driveway.
That's fascinating. Please, tell me some more.
Mushrooms in some ways, I mean, DMT is the most terrifying and astonishing thing in the universe. But it's very hard to know what to do with it. Psilocybin is your friend. It wants to teach. It will take you by the hand and forgive you and lead you and be with you. And it speaks. This is the amazing thing. And you're hearing this from, somebody who graduated from Heidegger and F.H. Bradley. It speaks. No other psychedelic does that, in my experience. Occasionally, a phrase will pop into your head on another substance that is like a gift, an aphorism. But I mean, psilocybin raves. It raves, and it has position. I mean, you may not like psilocybin as a person, because it is not, the astonishing thing about the psilocybin entity, to my mind, and I get good confirmation of this, is it is not very earthly. I mean, it wants to show you machines the size of Manhattan in orbit around alien stars. It wants to talk about the sweep through of the which happened before the Earth cooled, and it, has seen the empires of the Rull out at the rim and all the rest of it. And it's very puzzling, this cosmic galactarian tone.
Whoa, we're getting a little too crazy here. But this is Psychedelic Sundays. When the going gets weird, the weird turns pro. So what's up, everybody? So this is a little idea that I had. Michael could attest to this. But I've always kind of had this idea ever since Born Free Angel said about having different days and different themes and kind of like building this Mayan culture where we had like Typing Tuesdays, and I think the other one was the No Mean Mondays. It didn't really take off, but I always had this in the back of my mind, Psychedelic Sundays. So I did a little test run. I don't know if I'm going to be able to do it every Sunday, a show like this, but I want to show you guys like the possibilities, and also to what we can do, because this is just me doing it, but as a collective, what we could do with the Minds panel show. Not only just discuss things, but also, get really creative, get really into it. So let's get back to the show.
All of the technologies that we think of as the modern internet and the personal computers were really created first in an area around Stanford University between 1960 and 1975. At the same time that there was both a vibrant counterculture and ideas about augmenting human intelligence, augmenting the human mind, were being pursued both by the technologists, and they were sort of alive in a lot of the counterculture community that was taking place around Stanford. The technology didn't emerge in the vacuum. Technology is actually mediated by things that are going on in society, whether they be politics or economics or culture. In 1965, 1966, there were two men on either side of the Stanford campus. One was John McCarthy and one was Doug Engelbart. McCarthy was leading a research group that wanted to replace the human mind. He was exploring these technologies called artificial intelligence. And artificial intelligence at that time, the researchers thought that they could create a computerized artificial intelligence in a decade. On the other side of the campus, Engelbart was doing something different. He was trying to augment the human mind. He was trying to build a set of technologies that would allow humans to cooperate more quickly and invent things more efficiently. I've really struggled to try to understand what the relationship is between the use of psychedelic drugs by a small community of people during the 60s and the development of computer technology. And I'm still uncomfortable by saying one led to the other. It's clear to me, however, that they both emerged at the same time, and there were aspects of each that resonated. Doug Engelbart had this idea about amplifying the human mind. The people who were exploring LSD during the 1960s wanted to expand the human mind. Those were very similar ideas, and the impetus was related, and they resonated back and forth. And I think it's possible to say that each side drew on the other for sort of vision and inspiration. The threads that were emerging in California on the edge of the United States in the 60s led to both, and I think it's not a coincidence that both happened, within the space of 5 miles. The interesting thing about Engelbart is that he was willing to experiment with all kinds of ideas, from psychodrama to psychedelic drugs, to new computer technologies, to ideas that were taken from Mao's Red Guards. And so it was a wild and unusual time. I mean, if you went into SRI back in the 60s, on one floor you'd have these guys with white shirts and pocket protectors who were designing smart missiles. And on Engelbart's floors you'd have, oriental rugs and pillows and yoga workstations and, wine and drugs in the refrigerator. Just a very different cultural atmosphere. And out of that came most of the important ideas that would become personal computing. In 1968, in December, Engelbart sort of brought everything that his research group had developed during the 60s together in one just amazing demonstration that was given at Brooks Hall at the Joint Fall Computer Conference. He had a huge screen, a video screen, which was very unusual at that point to have an interactive video screen. And he sat up on stage, and he had a mouse in one hand, a keyboard. He had a display for himself. He had this thing called a chord key set that allowed him to enter textual information with his left hand while he was mousing with his right. And on the screen he had windows and hypertext and all the visual stuff that would become sort of the modern computer interface. And you have to remember that at that time, computing was not interactive. You would take your stack of cards and you would hand them to the sort of high priest of the data center. And Engelbart blew all that up. He showed 1,000 of the best computer scientists in the country a very different model of computing. And everything was different after that demonstration. It was called the mother of all demos. And what's significant is that a lot of his ideas emerged not just from sort of a pure set of technology events, but from this real sort of open exploratory group that he put together in the midst of both a political and a drug counterculture.